I'm very happy returns, and I pray that this year will make our smiles broader. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if you've seen the list. One of the names that everybody is still trying to figure out who he is the man who has been named as the National Security Coordinator, DCOP, Abdul Osman Razak. Is this someone you know?
I know him very well. I encountered him at the police academy when I was a directing staff there, and he came as a cadet officer. And I can tell you, there is a tradition in the police service where some of the best brains are maintained as directing staff. So when he finished the academy, he was maintained as a directing staff. And that tells you the level of knowledge and intelligence that he has. And after working there as a district commander in one or two places, I remember he became the ADC to the then Vice President, Mr. Mahama, who is now the President. And so all through, he has stuck with the President. When he became a President, he was still his ADC. And until 2016. And I know that when he remained with the President, even in opposition until 2017, when he was promoted alongside with me to DCOP, to ACP, to Assistant Commissioner. That was when, because somehow they felt he had become a very senior person, so he cannot be the continue to serve the president in that capacity. So he was transferred to or posted to Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. But one thing I know is that, he's kept a very good relationship with the president, both in opposition and so and so. And, once you work with somebody in this kind of position, loyalty is very important. As a national security coordinator, a lot of loyalty is required to be appointed to that position. And I believe that having served with the president for more than 16 or to 18 years continuously, because even back there, at least he visits or calls on the first family and has some talks with them on other things. Because there is no way you could have a relationship with a former president. I told somebody that my former bosses, some of them, I call them very regularly. And some of them, one or two of them, I visit. So that kind of relationship has been there, and I believe that it is in place and he has built his capacity over the years. Having served the president all these years, he has really encountered a lot of people, had interaction with a lot of senior military police officers and other security agencies, and having been with the Kofi Annan International Center, which is also close to the GAFC and other places, you see that he has really worked and interacted with both people, foreigners and Ghanaians at a very high level. And therefore, for me, his position is in place, and I believe that he will excel there. He has built competencies over the years that will make him excel. If you may allow me to explain something in respect to DCOP Razak, I've read and listened to some people who say, he's on retirement. He's not on retirement. He's still in his service. And it is not new. And I just explained to somebody a while ago that, look, I remember General Zanziri, late General Zanziri, and he was in charge of NADMO, and yet he was a serving military officer, if you remember very well. We have serving police commissioner at Yoko. So these things are not strange at all. And so there's no violation here. Everything is on course, and I believe that he will excel in this capacity. Let me also address one thing. For the past 8 years, Razak, DCOP Razak, was kept on his rank as assistant commissioner. Somehow, as a result of his affiliation with the former family.
For 8 years,
for 8 years, just like me. He was kept on the same rank for 8 years. He was never promoted across. Remember, all the IGPs came and they never promoted him. Current IGP, who has served for about 3.5 years, promoted his genius over him. These are things we've been talking about. Kept promoting his genius over him. His genius, who were superintendents when he was ACP, have been promoted over him, and they are now his seniors. So you see, right now he has been promoted and elevated to a position where most of these people will be reporting to him indirectly. And if they have any conscience, they should be resigning by now.
And that's the interesting part, because immediately I saw his rank, DCOP, and then I saw that he will be the National Security Coordinator. I started asking, and a 7 police officer, not a retired police officer, 7 police officer. I started asking whether that is not unusual, because the IGP currently at the rank of COP and also the head of the Ghana Police Service, he will be reporting to a National Security Coordinator. That's a lower rank in the police service, still serving as a police officer. So isn't that unusual?
Now, remember, we've been saying something in the police service, that appointment supersedes rank. Appointment supersedes rank.
Appointment supersedes rank.
Rank.
Okay.
In other words, did I not just tell you that I taught him? Was I not ahead of him?
Yes.
Is he not DCOP now? Is he not National Security Coordinator? He has become my senior. It doesn't matter anything. And so if you are Commissioner of Police, you are you are going to serve under him somehow. You may not be serving under him by way of your everyday duty. But when it comes to national security issues, he is above you. And let me give you a typical example. There is a subcommittee or a committee at the National Security called Joint Intelligence Committee, where all the security heads meet, including Director of Intelligence, the military intelligence. They all come there. That meeting, that committee is chaired not even by the National Security Coordinator, but his deputy. Usually it is deputy who chairs. And once he chairs, you are all subservient to him when it comes to national security issues. He's not going to teach you how to do your police work. He's not going to teach you how you do your immigration work. He's not going to teach you how you do your defense intelligence work. But when it comes to national security issues where he has to coordinate and work with all of you to build intelligence, he is first amongst you. You see how interesting it is? That is why I said that some people should be resigning if they have conscience.
Who? When you say some people, who should be resigning?
you want some people should be resigning. They know themselves. Because if you have bastardized this person for 8 years without promotion, if you have discriminated against him, and all of a sudden he becomes the National Security Coordinator, where he could write to you to provide information, and you have no option than to give him the information, when he could, through the National Security Advisor, direct your affairs. He may not ask you directly to do that, but he could use it through the National Security Advisor to direct your affairs. And when he's going to work with a police council that is going to direct your policies, are you able to sit and look directly into this person's face, whom you have discriminated against all these years? These are very interesting times ahead. And it appears the president has been given some kind of wisdom to do certain appointments that would mesmerize his opponents. And that's the kind of thing I'm seeing. Look at Kofi Boakye. Look at the appointment he's giving to Kofi Boakye, my own boss. He is now the director of operations at the presidency. Everything about the president's safety, wherever the president is, his travels, whether in and out of the country, he stands on top. It doesn't matter whether you are the IGP or you are the CDS. When it comes to the security of the presidency, the vice, and when we say the presidency, it includes the vice president. Remember, director of operations at the presidency includes the vice president's security. These are things we must get right. So when it comes to their security, nobody but Kofi Boakye, whether they are traveling in or out, it is Kofi Boakye. Their safety, their movements. I don't know whether I should continue.
I see. This is quite interesting. But there's one last person. I know there are always interagency relations that you build. Do you by any chance know Charles Kipo?
I know Charles Kipo very well.
Okay.
Okay. You know, I've been in the BNI. I reported to BNI for 5 years.
Oh,
5 good years,
okay.
I kept reporting to BNI or NID. So I know Charles Kipo. First of all, Charles Kipo was the head of the investigation team, or he's the head of investigation at the BNI at the time of my issue. And therefore, he was supposed to be part of the interrogation team. Unfortunately, he was not, and they allowed a genius to interrogate me for one reason or the other. I don't understand. But one thing that made me applaud Charles Kipo was when I complained openly that junior ranks were being allowed to deal with me, and I was uncomfortable with it. Charles Kipo actually requested that I see him in the office, and then when I met him in the office, he's a gentleman. He's a real gentleman. He asked me whether I had any problems, and I narrated to him the fact that it was unfortunate I should be reporting to junior ranks and other things, and he should be giving me directives, and that I still remain an assistant commissioner of police. He looked at me and said he understood me. And therefore, if I had any problem, I could come to his office directly and deal with him. That is how I got to know him personally. And since then, anytime I was traveling outside Accra and I could not report, I could just call him or go to his office and say, I'm traveling, and therefore, if I may be allowed not to report on a particular day, and he'll give me the directive as to what I should do. And that's how come I know him. So, very professional. I cannot tell about his previous years where he has worked and the competencies that he has, but I can testify to my personal interaction with him and how he listened to me and reasoned with me, despite the fact that there were other conversations we had at the time that I cannot reveal now. There were other conversations that we had that I cannot reveal on air. But you will see clearly by my interaction with him that Kipo was not too comfortable with the predicament that I was going through. That is what I can say about it.
Was he one of them?
He was the head of investigation during Akufo-Addo's time, much of the time, at least at the time that I was going through my troubles. So I was a bit concerned that, how come this person was appointed, knowing the role that he must have played in some of the cases in the past. But using my personal experience with him, I believe that he's a professional, and he could do the work without malice or without anything. Because I'm telling you that we have certain conversations, and out of those conversations, I could tell. Remember when he was appointed, people are saying, yes, this is the time for real reform, which means that this is somebody who has not been very comfortable with some of the things that were happening, but he could not say anything. And overwhelmed by the situation. And therefore, this is the right time for us to use to judge whether he is professional or not. And maybe the president has seen what I have not seen. The president knows what we do not know. And the security team of the president or the NDC may know things that we do not know. And therefore, there's a need to give him the chance to prove himself. And that is what I can say for now.
Interesting. And Mr. Prosper's Bani was at some point the Minister for the Interior. Did you have any opportunity of interacting with him?
I would not say that I had any opportunity of meeting with him, although from afar I saw him and knew him. But not only that, he was also a chief of staff, and therefore he comes with a lot of experience and competencies in the. And once you are chief of staff, you also manage some of these security issues because you have to report some of these things to, and some of these communication and other things go through you and other things, confidential information. And having served as the Minister for the Interior, he has interacted. He has been part of the National Security Council, a key member of the National Security Council, having worked with the military, defense intelligence, and the immigration and other people. So, and don't forget, Mr. Bani has also served in the security team, senior security team of the NDC, even in opposition. And it was not surprising that when the president announced his security team, he was number one. And the security manifesto and other things, he played a key role in those things. And therefore, I'm not surprised that he's been appointed to that position as the National Security Advisor. He comes with a lot of competencies, a lot of rich experience, very solid experience. In fact, the whole team is solid. And I believe that once the Minister for the Interior, we are waiting for the team to be complete with the appointment of National Security, the Defense Minister, and then the Interior Minister, and then we see the way forward.
Very interesting. But I just want to ask, before I let you go, who is in charge of promotions at the Ghana Police Service?
My brother, I keep saying that people do not pretend to know the police service, but they do not know. And so when people are running commentary, they say, oh, it is the police council that promotes. Yes, the police council only ratifies or approves or disapproves of what the IGP brings. In fact, the two people are in charge of promotion. The presidency can select somebody and recommend the person for promotion. But any other promotion is done by the Inspector General of Police. He will recommend it to the police council, and the police council has to approve it. In fact, you rarely see the IGP giving a list to the police council that they will not approve. The first time I encountered that was during Kudalo's time, where that former president, the late former president, I forgot his name.
Johnny Van Mills.
No, under John Mahama in 2016.
Kwesi Misata.
He refused to. He said that they should prove to him that there are vacancies and other things. Yeah, that is why you see that during that time, you rarely saw promotions of senior officers. He will ask you to prove that there are vacancies and that. He will say all kinds of things. But in this era, every promotion that Dampari recommended were approved by the police council. So the IGP is responsible solely and mainly for the promotions in the police service. If it doesn't send your name, that is how come somebody will be qualified. There's no adverse findings against him. There are no assessment report. There's no assessment board. There's no promotion board. But the IGP could let that person sit down there for 8 years without promotion. So the current Razak, the National Security Coordinator, was on his ground for 8 years without promotion. And because the IGP did not deem it necessary to promote him, he will not be promoted. So when people are talking about, oh, it's not the IGP who is responsible for promotion, if the IGP doesn't send your name, except when the presidency identifies you and recommends you, you will never be promoted.
So in other words, your advice is that if the IGP had some small this thing, he would have
If
resigned.
The IGP, in fact, if Dcop has a conscience, I know you want to come back to the same question. I'm not afraid to answer it. In fact, if Dcop has conscience, he should act like my former boss, what do you call him? 2016 IGP, Mr. Kudalo. Remember, Mr. Kudalo went to Akufo-Addo and said, "Thank you for the service to the nation. I think it is time for me to go." If he has conscience, if Dcop has conscience, by now, looking at the kind of appointments that are coming, he should be heading to the presidency and tell them, "Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity. I think I need a reassignment or I need to go." But maybe he doesn't have conscience, so he's still lobbying to stay. And I will be surprised. And I have said that the president, we have spoken everything that we have said. But if the president will listen to the police and want to inherit a very cohesive police service with high morale, then Dcop must go as early as possible.
If the president will listen to, you are saying that the opinion within the Ghana Police Service is that he should go?
That is it. That is it. I'm telling you that over 90% of police personnel wouldn't want to see the IGP. And I also said it elsewhere that the day IGP will be removed, Dcop will be removed. I will not be surprised to hear police officers shouting the police horns across and applauding and smiling and jumping and clapping in their offices. This is somebody who has discriminated much more than any other person in my 35 years of service. We have never seen this kind of terrorist approach to leadership in the police service.
That's a very strong word to use, a terrorist approach.
I can even use much more stronger words if I could even remember them. Terrorist approach. Look, do you know that he doesn't talk to some people in the police headquarters, at the police headquarters, POMAB members? Some people are not called to POMAB meetings. If he doesn't like you, you are a member of POMAB, but you will not be part of the POMAB meetings. He doesn't talk to his Deputy Inspector General of Police. He doesn't talk to some commissioners. I don't want to mention the commissioners, but I know. He doesn't talk to them. And he doesn't talk to some other officers. Because he considered, look, Dcop is a mess. A complete mess.
But for most of us, it's someone who just led the police service into an election that was largely an improvement on the 2020 elections.
Are you talking about improvement? An election in which about 6 people are reported to have died. An election in which the military was seen visiting polling stations under the chairmanship of IGP, who is the chairman of the National Election Security Task Force. An election where collation centers have become battlegrounds. What are you talking about? An election where we are told that there is a 5,400 blueprints, and yet we have never seen it, and then the election is still in a mess. What are we talking about? Look, this is one pretender of an IGP, one blackmailer of an IGP, and when I say blackmailer, I mean it. One person who is unaccountable, is not accountable to anybody. One person who has misapplied the police funds more than ever, and he can take me on and I can prove it to him.
But I haven't seen your evidence, so...
yes, you can disassociate yourself from that. But I'm saying that he has misapplied it, and I can give you an example of the misapplication. Look, the UN police fund has been misapplied by Dcop.
Well, ACP retired. I think we'll leave it here because the discussion essentially is not around him and his tenure in office. I just asked you a question. Yes, I realize. But
so we can stick to the appointment. So this is a solid team. For me, it's a very good team to start with by the president, and let's see how the days ahead go. We would be needing a lot of strategies. And remember, the president also said that one of the primary
things to do right now is the Boko crisis. And so with this kind of team in place, where Mr. Bani, Razak, KB will be part of it definitely, and then we have Mr. Charles Kipo, a very unassuming officer. Let's see how things go.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking.